There are big problems at Old Trafford, and I'm not talking about the leaking roof. I'm talking about the fact that in our last 6 Premier League games at home, we've only won 1 football match, and actually along the way there's been some pretty terrible performances and also results. The question is, why is this happening? What is the problem for United at Old Trafford? Why are we experiencing those problems? And the why really is key. And how can we fix the issues at Old Trafford for Manchester United? Those are all questions that I'm going to try and answer in today's video. Before we get into it, if you could quickly please subscribe to the channel, that would be amazing, and then we'll get into the video. Now, the rather odd thing about Manchester United's form at Old Trafford is that we don't seem to be quite as bad away from home. Now, don't get me wrong, the away form is far from perfect as well, but at home there is a clear difference. We do have a real issue when we play at Old Trafford. So I thought I would take a look at some numbers to see what the difference is, and actually one number immediately stands out. If you look at our last 4 away games in the Premier League, the most possession we've had in any game is 49% possession, whereas at Old Trafford in the past 6 matches, we've averaged 60.5% possession. Now this suggests, in theory, that the real issue is United can dominate the ball, we can progress the ball, but we can't break teams down and we can't create a chance in the final third and we aren't taking our chances. But for me, that isn't actually the biggest problem. For me, the problem is we can't actually progress the ball consistently in the first place. So that is question number 1. Why can Manchester United not progress the ball consistently at Old Trafford? Well, the first problem isn't actually just at Old Trafford, we experience this away from home as well. And that is the fact that for me, we drop too many players deep to try and play out from the back. I don't like the structure from Ruben Amorim currently. Now, we know what the structure is by now. Onana plays more as a traditional goalkeeper rather than the modern day ball player. 2 centre-backs either side, centre-back in the middle, 2 central midfielders, wing-backs dropping really deep, and then one of the front 3 will also drop deep. Sometimes it's Ahmad, sometimes it's Kobbie Mainoo, especially when he plays up front, and Xerxes as well, but sometimes it is the inside forward moving deeper. Why is this a problem? Well, it tells the opposition, you can come press us, because we don't really have the threat that we can go too long, we don't have the pace in behind or the physical presence to hold the ball up, so teams know that they can press. We can see this here, Andre Onana is on the ball, and Crystal Palace aren't exactly parking the bus, but they're also not really committing to a high press right now, they're not really putting us under a lot of pressure. So Manchester United potentially have a chance to play the ball out from the back, and we can see already the typical structure that we use. The problem I've got here is that as United try and move the ball around the defence, all of our players come towards the ball. This is the what, this is the problem. Too many players drop deep. The why is because I don't think Ruben Amorim trusts us individually. He knows that in terms of press resistance, we really lack it, right? We lack players who can play in the first phase. So what he tries to do is drop more players deeper to try and overload the opposition. But the problem this creates is that as we pass the ball around the back, you know, here we go back to Onana, who for me should be trusted a little bit higher, but we'll come back to that. Because Onana isn't higher, Bruno Fernandes has to drop deeper, Dalot also drops deeper as well, and eventually if we look at this, Manchester United have 8 players in really deep positions trying to play through the first phase. Now what message does this send to the opposition? If we're dropping 8 players this deep, this means that the opposition, if they want to be really aggressive and go man to man, can actually send 8 players high to try and press us. Now take a bunch of players for United that are technically lacking in certain phases of the game and try and ask them to play 8v8 and progress the ball. They're going to struggle. So this is the first problem for me. We drop too many players deep. Why do we do it? Because Amorim doesn't trust the players. So what is the solution? For me, we have to have more faith in our players. Now it sounds like a weird time to say that, right? Because individually the form is quite poor at the moment. But these players are not as bad as what we're making out currently. They're not perfect, but they're not as bad as what we are suggesting at the moment. For me, what Ruben Amorim should do is try and use Andre Onana as more of a ball-playing goalkeeper. Push him into this position here and trust him. We saw him doing this under Erik ten Hag. He is more than capable of doing that. Harry Maguire could drop to the side of him, and then you can move the other 2 centre-backs who perhaps in terms of personnel we need to change, but you can push them into wider positions. Now what this does for United is it opens up the midfield a little bit because we haven't got a centre-back playing in those areas, and also Bruno Fernandes isn't dropping into centre-back, so that's big. Onana being there is huge for us, but also the wing-backs can move a little bit further forward. Now this means that if our wing-backs are further forward, the opposition are going to be a little bit more worried about us, and they have to drop a little bit deeper. Suddenly you're playing through less players, and Onana is more of a ball-playing goalkeeper, which gives us the +1 player in the first phase, and actually maybe we've got a chance of expressing ourselves. Okay, so let's say Manchester United do that, execute that really well, and actually start progressing the ball through the first phase consistently, rather than being forced long. Nice, that's brilliant. But there is a problem. We can't do the next bit either. Not only are we poor in the first phase, we're also poor in the second phase at the moment. And the problem really is that we just can't progress the ball. We've spoken a lot about the difficulties progressing the ball through the middle, how we don't have the profiles for it, we haven't spent the time on the training pitch, and also tactically there's not enough rotations, not enough movement in the middle. This means there is a huge pressure on us to progress the ball out wide. Currently we are playing Dalot and Mazraoui at wingback, and if you guys have seen more than 3 seconds of my content in the past, you will know that I'm not really a big fan of this. Today I want to really explain why. And it comes down to the psychological game that you play with the opposition, but also simply the difference between having a right footer and a left footer on the right side or the left side. Now there is something I need to clear up here because a lot of people have been asking this question. All last season I kept going, Manchester United need a left foot defender on the left and a right foot defender on the right. Suddenly fast forward to this season and I'm saying a right footed defender on the right is actually our main problem. How does that work? Well, let's tell you something. Previously, Manchester United under Erik ten Hag were playing in a back four. This means when you receive the ball in these deep positions, you are very often facing the play. Therefore, having the strong-footed player on this side, a right footer on the right, opens up, a lot of angles to move the ball forward. However, when you play as a wing-back, you don't receive facing the play. You actually receive with your back to goal or in a side-on position. And that is the most important thing initially. Back to goal or a side-on position. One of these things is much easier for the opposition to deal with, and it comes down to being right-footed. If you are a right-footed player playing on the right-hand side, you actually physically can't really receive side-on. Because if you receive side-on and let the ball come onto your strong foot, which all footballers want to do, right? Control the ball with their stronger foot, it's pretty obvious. If you do that as a right-footer on the right-hand side, you open your body up, you receive side-on, you're going to be receiving the ball here, which is literally inviting the opposition to come tackle you, especially when you're a fullback, not a winger, not someone who wants to dribble and take people on. That's a bit of a problem. So therefore, if Mazraoui actually wants to receive the ball on his right foot, he has to do it with his back to goal, because when he's side on, he's presenting the ball to the opposition, so he has to do it with his back to goal like this. He has to receive the ball here. The problem is, as he receives this ball, he's going to take the touch with the right foot this way, the opposition are going to come towards him and press. Now he can't actually pass with his right foot, because he's going to have to use the outside of his boot to actually scoop the pass that way. In this moment, he now needs to be left-footed. And this is something that Mazraoui has really been struggling with. Take a situation like this from the weekend. Maguire's on the ball. He works the ball wide to Mazraoui. Now what we need to focus on is Mazraoui starting higher initially and coming deeper, because we are now in the second phase. The problem is, Mazraoui is receiving with his back to goal. The opposition player can see his number, which is always a pretty good indicator defensively in terms of the position you're in. The defender can see Mazraoui's number, and that's because he wants to receive the ball on his right foot like this. Now naturally, the right foot touch is going to take him inside the pitch or backwards in this moment, and you can see that invites the defender towards him. The problem is, once he's now inside the pitch, the ball falls to his left foot, and he can't really naturally play that pass. Of course, Mazraoui is a good footballer. He is quite two-footed. But we're talking about naturally, player instinct. He doesn't naturally want to do this. This isn't comfortable to him. It doesn't come as a second nature. He's also not helped by the fact that Amad's and Kobbie Mainoo's movement isn't very good here at all. One of them should be coming into this position to receive. They don't, and instead, Manchester United lose the ball pretty terribly. So that's the problem with Mazraoui at wingback. You can see it again here. Yoro plays the ball a little bit wider. And again, Mazraoui takes the touch. He's got his back to goal. He has to because he's right-footed receiving high. He has to have his back to goal, particularly as a fullback, and the defender presses him. The defender presses him, the defender can see him, forces Mazraoui inside the pitch with the right-footed touch, and again, the ball now falls onto his left foot. But again, Mazraoui isn't left-footed. You can actually see, if you look at him for a second here, just in this still shot, he doesn't look very comfortable, right? He doesn't look very natural trying to play this pass. Now again, he's not helped by the movement in front of him. Amad or Kobbie Mainoo should be coming towards him, but Mazraoui himself doesn't quite have the skill set, and instead gets crowded out into this position, gets tackled, and Manchester United lose the ball. And that is one of the real problems here in terms of psychological warfare, if you like, with the opposition. The opposition know that first of all, Mazraoui is right-footed, but also that by nature he is a fullback. So naturally, he isn't a player that wants to receive the ball really high up the pitch and take people on. If you know a player doesn't want to take you on, that means one thing. You can be really aggressive, you can really push towards him, and really put him under pressure. So again, what this is doing is sending a message to the opposition that you can come and press us. However, this changes with Amad. So we've now got Ahmad on the right hand side of the pitch, and the story is completely different. He wants to receive the ball on his strong foot. Well, guess what? He can actually do that side on rather than back to goal. You see, previously Mazraoui couldn't do this because if he let his ball onto his strong foot, it was inviting the opposition there. Whereas Ahmad, being left-footed, can be side on and still receive the ball away from the opposition. You notice now how Ahmad's body is between the ball and the opposition player. This means that he can take a safer first touch. He's not under immediate pressure, but he's playing naturally. The ball is on his stronger foot. It also means that it's quite likely that his first touch might go backwards towards his own goal a little bit, or again it could come inside the pitch like what Mazraoui was doing previously. The important thing here though is he's actually left-footed by nature. He wants to play with his left foot, so he's much more comfortable playing these passes inside the pitch. The other thing here though is that he is a winger, and the opposition are very aware of the fact that Ahmad is a brilliant footballer, that right now he's one of the most informed players in the Premier League. No one wants to play 1v1 against him, and that has an effect on the opposition. Previously they were looking at Mazraoui with his back to goal and going, yeah, we can go press him, we can get after him. Now they see Ahmad and think, I'm a little bit worried about this guy, so I just need to step off a little bit. Now when this happens, Ahmad has more time, so rather than United immediately being under pressure, we actually gain a bit of territory. Ahmad can progress the ball a few yards, and we're gaining some ground. The other thing that could happen is the defender might be really aggressive and really tight, but Ahmad's actually just going to skip past them in a way that, again, quite simply Mazraoui can't because he's with his back to goal. And we can, of course, see this in moments like this. We see it all the time from Ahmad when he plays a little bit wider. He receives the ball with his left foot, so on his stronger foot, taking the touch away. Now, in a sense, he is sort of back to goal here, but you can see he's still relatively side on. He's not literally facing his own goal, and he's able to take the first touch. Now, you can see the warfare, you know, the psychological battle that I'm talking about here. The defender steps off. He doesn't immediately crunch him because he's worried about what Ahmad might do if he gets too tight, so he stands off. On this occasion, Ahmad plays it really simple. He works the ball backwards. But actually, straight away, Yoro gives him the ball back. He goes, no, actually, mate, you're going to progress this ball. He passes back to Ahmad. This time, he is very much in a side-on position as he picks up the ball. And the defender decides to actually be a little bit tighter, a little bit more aggressive. And then Ahmad does this. He knocks the ball past and ends up here. So rather than losing the ball on the halfway line with Mazraoui, we are now actually progressing the ball into the final third. This is why I think Ruben Amorim has the tools already to solve some of the problems that United are facing. I understand why he's doing what he's doing, why he's dropping certain players deeper, why he might go for extra defenders for defensive solidity. But I actually think the real solution for him is to trust Onana more in goal on the ball. Use him as a ball-playing goalkeeper and ask him to take some pressure off that defence. We know, particularly with his short passing, he is capable of that. That will open up the midfield a little bit. We won't have a centre-back playing in that position. Bruno won't be having to drop into the back four. We will have actual midfielders in midfield, which gives us the licence to play forward. It also gives us more room because the opposition will be pinned back like we were discussing earlier. Should that happen, United will be able to get the ball into the second phase. Here, the solution for me, of course, is more rotation, more time on the training ground so players are more natural, but also Ahmad at wing-back, because it gives us that different way of progressing the ball. Once we're actually in the final third, I don't think Manchester United are too bad at all once we sustain attacks. The problem is we can't get there, but with these solutions, we might just be able to. But those are my thoughts, my opinions. Now it's time to hear from you guys, because I've spoken enough for today. Get in the comments down below and let me know what you think of everything that I've been speaking about today. What are the problems? What is the issue at Old Trafford? Is there a psychological problem? And also, what are the solutions that Ruben Amorim could use? Let me know what you think in the comments. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.